Welcome. Today we are continuing with our revision series on our paper on IEB June 2024 paper 1. Okay, so we are on question 5 and 6. Okay, these questions consist of a topic of the questions on functions. Okay, in these functions you can see there is a coordinate geometry in this question, and you can see that there was a lot of transformations. Okay, so you're going to be involving geometry transformations, and you're going to be drawing the graphs and other problem solving. Okay, so the video day is going to include geometry, transformation, graphs, and the other problems. Let's take a look on our first question, question 5. Okay, your question 5 reads, in the diagram, the graph of f of x is equals to log x base a and g are drawn. The graph of g is the reflection of f in the line y is equals to x. The graph of f passes through a point P, which is 4 and 2. Then Q is the x-intercept of f, and R is the y-intercept of G. Okay. So the question reads: write down the coordinate of P dash, the image of P on G. Okay. So we are going to see the reflection of this on this G. Okay. Then the other question says that show that A is equals to 2. Okay. Given this function and this point, we're going to see how we can find our value A. Then write down the equation of G in the form of Y is equals to something. Okay. So we're going to reflect this graph to this and see how much it becomes. Okay. Then the last question of this question says that T is a point on F. Okay. So on F is a point in the first quadrant, meaning that in this side, okay, where TR is parallel to the x-axis. Okay, so this means that with R and T, we have a horizontal line because x-axis is horizontal. Okay, so with R and T, we have a horizontal line here. Calculate the area of A, T, P dash. Okay, so P dash is going to be reflected somewhere here. Okay, so we are going to have a triangle here. Okay, so our question is asking us to calculate the area of that triangle. Okay, so we're going to see how do we solve this in the next few minutes. Let's go on the first question of our question 5. Okay, so the question states that write down the coordinates of P dash. Okay, the image of P on G. Okay, it is said that this graph is being reflected by the line y is equals to x. Okay, so we're going to check here how this point will be reflected with this line. Okay, so we have our point P, which is 4, 2. Okay, then it is going to be P dash. Okay, so here we are going to be reflected by y is equals to x. Okay, so let's see how do we transform here. Okay, so reflecting about the line y is equals to x is simply about changing the x values to become the y values. Okay, let's say uh, let's say if we reflect by y is equals to x. Okay, if you reflect using this, okay, it's just changing x values become y, and y values become x. Okay, so we are just changing this one. Okay, so this means that here on our P, we are going to change the x values to become y values, and the y values become x values. Okay, so here you can see 4 is our x value here. So it means that it's going to become our y value. Then here you can see we have 2. Okay, 2 here is our y value, is going to become our x value. Okay, so this means that our coordinates of P dash is going to be 2, 4. Now we have our question 2 of the question 5. Okay, so it states that show that A is equals to 2. Okay, so we are going to be using this equation, which is written f of x is equals to log x base A. Okay, so we are given a point P where this graph cuts, which is 4, 2. Okay, so we are going to be using these two to find the value of A. Okay, so now we have to change our equation to become y is equals to log x base A. Okay, so now we are given this point here. This one is our x value and this one is our y value. Okay, so the simple thing is we just have to substitute these values on this. Okay, so let's say you have y, we say is 2, we substitute y with the 2 is equals to log base A, then x is 4. Okay, so here our law of logarithm says that when you are given something like this, you just take this A to become your base here and this 2 to become your power. Okay, then here we remove this log and start and leave with 4. Okay, so this means that a squared is going to become 4. Okay, so as easy as that, we're just going to take this base and say this one becomes our base, then this one becomes our power, and we just take 4 here and we remove this log. Okay, this is our laws of logarithm. Okay, so this means that it's going to give us our answer a is equals to 2. Now we have our third question of question 5. Okay, it says that write down the equation of g in the form y is equals to something. Okay, so we're going to be writing the equation of g. Okay, here we are given f of x is equals to log a. Okay, let's replace a with 2 log base 2x. Okay, so here let's remove f of x and put y. So this means that our graph is y is equals to log x base 2. Okay, so now we have to reflect this graph. We have to reflect it with y is equals to x. Okay, so we are going to reflect it with y is equals to x. Okay, so as I said earlier, reflecting with this graph, it means that we are just changing x value to become y value. Okay, so this means that when there is y, we have to change and put x, and where there is x, we just have to change to put y. Okay, so this means that our graph becomes x is equals to log base 2 then y. Okay, so now we are asked to show it in this form y is equals to something. Okay, so this means that we have to make y subject to formula. Okay, how do we do that? With given this case, we just have to take this base and put 2 here, then this one has to be the power. Okay, so it becomes 2 to the power x is equals to, then we remove the log equals to y. Okay, so now we can simply write it in this form. So we can simply say our equation of g of x is equals to y is equals to 2 to the power x. Okay, so this is the equation of g of x. Okay, our fourth question, we are on our fourth question. Okay, so with the information we have, let's update this graph. Okay, so we found out that our value of a is becomes 2. Okay, so this means that our f of x becomes f of x is equals to log x base 2. Okay, then we found out that the equation of this line becomes g of x is equals to 2 to the power x. Okay, so now we can simply say that this equation you should pass through 1 here and pass here. Okay, so if you check these graphs, the graph of 2 to the power x and the graph of log x, they pass through 1 here, that's intercept, and 1. Okay, so this means that the coordinate of q becomes 1 0, and since this is a reflection of q, it becomes 0 1. Okay, so let's go on. T is a point on F. Okay, so T is a point on F on this graph in the first quadrant. This means that this is the first quadrant. Okay, then where TR is parallel to x-axis. Okay, so this means that if we put T in this, let's assume that our T is here. Okay, so if we put T, this means that this becomes a horizontal line because x-axis is horizontal line. Okay, so the way it can be parallel is when it is horizontal. Okay, so this means that TR is going to become a horizontal line here. Okay, calculate the area of the triangle RTP. Okay, RTP dash. Okay, we have found out that we have another point P dash here, which is a 2 4. Okay, so now let's check. We are supposed to calculate the area of the triangle which is formed by this point. Okay, so let's try to draw this on a bigger scale. This means that we have our point R here and a horizontal line here. Then we have our point T here. Then we have our point P dash here. Okay, so this means that our point R, we have already found out that this point has a coordinate 0 1. Okay, then now our point P dash, we have already found out that it has the coordinates 2 4. Okay, so now we have to find the coordinates of T. Okay, since it's a horizontal line, this means that the y is going to be the same. Okay, so the y is going to be 1. Okay, so now let's go on. Let's go back to our equation. The y, we know the value of y. Our equation is f of x is equals to log 2x. Okay, so you already know what is the value of x, which is called to be 1. Okay, so this means that 1 is equals to log x base 2. Okay, so with our rule, we can simply find out that 2 to the power 1, this 2 to the power 1 is equals to x. Okay, so we can know that x is equals to 2. Okay, so this means that our point t is 2, 1. Okay, our point t is 2, 1. Okay, we just substituted a value of 1. Since it's a horizontal line, this means that the y value stays constant. This means that the value y value at t is equals to 1. So this means that if we substitute the y value on this equation, we can simply find the value of t. In this case, we found out it's 2. Okay, so now let's find the area of this triangle. Okay, let's find the distance from r to t. The distance from r to t, since it's a horizontal line, we can simply subtract this 2 and 1. Okay, so we can find out that the horizontal line is 1 unit. Okay, the length is 1 unit. Okay, now let's find out the height here. We can find out that only what changed is the here. We can see that the y value has changed from 1 to 4. Okay, so this means that our height is going to be 3 units. Okay, okay, from 1, our y value was 1 here, and it changed to become 4. Okay, so this means that from here to here we have 3 units. Okay, so this means that we have our triangle, which is a base of 1 unit and a height of 3 units. Okay, so now we can simply find out the area. Okay, so we can now say the area is equals to half base times height. Okay, here we have our base which is 1 and our height which is 3. Okay, so this means that our area becomes 1.5 units squared. Okay, so you can write units squared. Okay, so or you can just write 1.5. Okay, so this will be our answer. Okay, so our duty was to find where the point t is, and we used this to find the point t, and we have our point r, we know where point r is, and we have our point p dash, we know where it is. Now let's go to our question 6. Our question 6 states that given that p of x is equals to 4 to the power x, and h of x is equals to 2 in the bracket x minus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so we are going to see how we are going to be asked on these two graphs. Okay, so the first question says that sketch the graph of P and H on the same set of axes, indicate all intercepts with axes and any turning points. Okay, so we are going to be drawing these two graphs. Then sketch the graph of f of x if f of x is equals to P of minus x. Okay, so we are going to do this graph f of P of x to f of x. We're going to transform it to f of x using this transformation of minus x. Okay, and we are going to draw it on the same axis. Okay, then the graph of h is shifted 2 units to the left. Okay, this graph is shifted 2 units to the left. Write down the equation of the new graph. Okay, so we are going just to transform this graph 2 units to the left and write down the equation. We don't have to draw here. We just say write the equation. Okay, the next says show algebraically that p of x plus half is equals to 2 times p of x. Okay, so we're going to show that algebraically transforming the graph of p to this is same transforming of graph of p to this. Okay, here we have our first question. Given that p of x is equals to 4 to the power of x, h of x is equals to 2 in bracket x minus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so we're going to answer the first question, which says that sketch the graph of P and H on the same set of axes, indicate all intercepts with the axis and any turning points. Okay, so let me draw this graph first. Okay, so when you see a graph which is said, let's say P of x is equals to 4 to the power of x, any graph which says y is equals to any number, let me put a capital A, any number to the power of x. Okay, this graph, all these graphs, they have the same shape. Okay, you see they have the same shape. Okay, so this means that we just have to draw this graph, to draw your axis and draw the graph of the same shape. Okay, these graphs are of this shape, they follow this shape. Okay, and all of them, they pass through this point 1. Okay, so this means that our graph is going to be like this, and it passes through point 1 here. Okay, this is the easier graph to draw. Okay, so we have shown that it is passing through this point and it has no other turning point. Okay, so we just have to show this. It passes through 1 on the y-axis, and on the x-axis it doesn't reach x-axis, it has its asymptote with x-axis. Okay, so this is the graph. Okay, let's go to the next graph, which is this one. Okay, this one is a bit complicated, but it is easy. Okay, so when you see a graph where it is going to require a graph of x squared, okay, this means that this graph was derived from this graph. Okay, when you see it is going, if you expand this, you are going to get this term. This means that this graph was derived from this graph. Okay, so let's see what transformations were made to this graph. Let me name this f of x. Okay, were made to this graph. Okay, this graph, its original state is like this. It passes through 0 here. That is turning point. Okay, this is the graph of y is equals to x squared. Okay, so let's see what transformations were made to this graph to put this graph. Okay, we can see here x was replaced by x minus 1. Okay, so this means that our graph was moved 1 unit to the right. Okay, when you see x was replaced by x minus any number, it means that our graph was moved 1 unit to the right. Okay, this gives us a graph like this. We have our axis here, and it's going to pass through here, and it's going to put 1 here. Okay, okay, this will be our new graph, which is y is equals to x minus 1. Okay, so now a minus 1 squared. Okay, now let's see what these two cost. Okay, this 2 is the stretch in the y-axis. Okay, this 2 does not cause anything. It's just, it doesn't change the shape. It just stretches this graph. Okay, so this means that this shape is the same. Okay, when we put this 2. Okay, so this means that this graph remains like this. Okay, this affected the y coordinates or not the x. Okay, so this means that it still passes through 1 here. So this graph becomes like this. Okay, this is our y and this is our x. Okay, it doesn't change, it just have to be expanded. Okay, now let's see what this h did to this graph. We can see that our graph was like this. We can see that our graph was like this. But 1 here, it was y is equals to 2x minus 1. Okay, now it was added with a minus 8 here. Okay, let's see what happened to the graph. Okay, this minus 8 means that this graph was moved 8 units downwards. There is a negative 8. It means it was moved 8 units downwards. Okay, so this means that our graph changed to this shape. Okay, this is our y-axis, this is our x-axis. It's changed to become this shape. And this point, our turning point, changed to become 1 minus 8. Okay, we see that it was moved 8 units downward from 0 here, it becomes minus 8. It was moved 1 unit to the right, it was 0 here, it becomes 1. Okay, so this becomes our graph of y is equals to 2x minus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so this becomes our graph. Okay, so now let's see how do we draw this graph on the same axis and find the intercept. We have our graphs y is equals to 4 to the power x, and we have another graph y is equals to 2x minus 1 minus 8. Okay, so we've successfully shown how to draw this graph. Okay, now we just have to draw them on the same axis and find the intercepts. Okay, so let's draw our axis here. Okay, let's assume this is our y-axis. Then let's draw another axis here, which is x-axis. Okay, so let's draw the first graph. I told you that this graph has this shape. Okay, it doesn't just reach the x-axis here. So here it is 1. Okay, so we've successfully drawn this graph. It is the graph of g of x is equals to 4 to the power x. Okay, now we have to draw this graph. Okay, this graph, I've told you that it has this shape. And here at the turning point, we have coordinate 1 and minus 8. Okay, so this means that this becomes our turning point. Okay, here now let's see the intercepts. Okay, to find the intercepts, make sure we find this one. Okay, here we have squared. Okay, I've left squared here. Okay, the first thing to find the intercept, we have already found the intercept of this graph, and it has no turning point. Okay, so now we have only found out the turning point. Now we have to find the intercept here, here, and here. Okay, now we can say that, let's say, now we can solve that. Okay, the first thing is to find the intercept of y of x. We have to substitute y is equals to 0. Okay, so our graph becomes 2x minus 1 squared is equals to minus 8 is equals to 0. Okay, we have removed y and put 0. Okay, now we have to solve. Let's put 8 this side and divide by 2. It becomes x minus 1 squared is equals to. Okay, we can solve it in the quadratic way, but this one is easy. When it was already completed the square here, you can just do this. Okay, now we put the root on both sides. It becomes x minus 1 is equals to 2. Okay, now we have to know that x is equals. Here you can know that if we put root here and put root here, it becomes plus or minus 2. Okay, now we just have to say x is equals to plus or minus 2. Our x becomes minus 1 or 3. Okay, so this will be our answers. Okay, this means that this one is positive, so it becomes 3, and this one is negative, becomes minus 1. Okay, it's easy as that. Okay, so we have successfully found out the x-intercept. To find out the y-intercept, we just have to put x is equals to 0. So if you put x is equals to 0 here, you find out that y it becomes, let's put x is equals to 0. Okay, on this equation, y is equals to becomes 2 minus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so answer becomes, here it becomes 1, so it becomes 2 minus 8. This means that it becomes minus 6. Okay, so this means that here we have minus 6. Okay, so now we can say we have successfully drawn this graph, these graphs, and this graph showing all the intercepts and turning point. We have our turning point here, and we have our intercept here, here, and here, and here. Okay, these are the simple steps to solve this problem. The second question of question 6, it says that sketch the graph of f of x if f of x is equals to p minus x. Okay, so we're just going to transform the graph of p of x to become p of minus x so that we can get f of x. Okay, so if we transform a graph like this, let's say p of x, to become a graph like p of minus x, here we can clearly see that x has been replaced with minus x. Okay, this means that this graph is reflected along the x-axis. Okay, so when you see a graph, when x was changed to become minus x, so this means that the graph has been reflected along x-axis. Okay, so what this means that is the reflection line was the y-axis. Okay, so this is what you should remember. When x is replaced by minus x, this means that the graph has been reflected along the x-axis and the reflection line was y-axis. Okay, so let's go and put our reflection. Okay, so here we have a graph. This is p of x. Okay, so we want to draw another graph which is a f of x. Okay, yeah, it's supposed to be p. Okay, so what we do is we go on this line. We are going to reflect it by this line, which is the y-axis. Okay, so we go with here and we put a mirror here. What do we see this side? Okay, we put what is this side, we put it this side, and what is this side, put it this side. Okay, so this means that our graph is going to look like this side, and look like this side. Okay, so we're going to draw it. It's going to be like this and like this. Okay, so we can see that this side it becomes this side becomes this side. Okay, so we can say this graph is the graph of f of x. Okay, this is the reflection of this p of x. Okay, that's it. Whenever you see x being replaced by minus x, it means that reflection along the x-axis. This means that our reflection line is the line y-axis. We have our next question. It says that the graph of h is shifted 2 units to the left. Write down the equation of the new graph. Okay, so whenever we have a graph, like let's say we have a graph of h, which is h of x. Okay, so when it is saying 2 units to the left, okay, so this means that where there was x, okay, left and right is the x-axis, right? Along the x-axis. So where there was x, we're going to replace it with x plus 2. Okay, x plus 2. Okay, so this is what you say when you say 2 units to the left. This means that we are going to replace x with x plus 2. Okay, so if it was 2 units to the right, we're going to replace it with x minus 2. Okay, so this means that we are going to go in our graph h of x and replace x with x plus 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so this means that the new graph becomes 2x, we are going to put x plus 2. So it becomes x plus 2 here minus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so this means that the equation of the new graph becomes 2x plus 1 squared minus 8. Okay, so this one becomes the equation of the new graph. Our last question of question 6 says that show algebraically that p of x plus half is equals to 2p of x. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go with on our function p of x. Okay, our p of x is equals to 4 to the power x. Okay, so we're going to transform it to this graph. Okay, then show that this graph, when transformed, this one is going to give us this one. Okay, so now let's go on. This translation just simply means that you are going to replace x. It was p of x, right? So to become p of x plus half, we just have to replace x with x plus half. Okay, so this means that p of x plus half is going to be 4 to the power x plus half. Okay, so let's do our simplification and apply the laws of indices. Okay, so here is 4. Let's combine this. It becomes our common denominator 2. Then it becomes 2x plus 1. Okay, like this. Okay, so now we just have to go and say 4 to the power. Let's put this 2 outside. It becomes half. So it becomes half 2x plus 1. Okay, yeah. Now we know that if you put something like this, you can easily say it's 4 to the power half. Then you put the bracket. Then you put this one. This is the law of power. If you remember indices. Okay. So this means that 4 to the power half. 4 to the power half is simply the same as root 4. Okay. So this means that root 4 to the power 2x plus 1. Okay, so this means that we just have to have our 2 here. So it becomes 2 to the power 2x plus 1. Okay, if we apply our laws of indices, we get that this one it becomes 2 to the power x, 2 to the power 2x times 2 to the power 1. Okay, we can simply separate this addition and put 2 to the power 2x plus 2 power. Okay, so now we can see we have our 2 here, and it is being multiplied by 2 to the power 2x. Okay, this 2 to the power 2x, we can simply change it. It's become 2 times 2 to the power 2, then to the power x. Okay, so if we do this, we can simply say now it's 2 times 2 to the power 2 becomes 4. Okay, so 2 times 4 to the power x. Okay, so now we can see that it becomes 2. This 4 to the power x is our p of x. Okay, we can see from here, this 4 to the power x is our p of x. So it becomes 2 to the power 2x. Okay, so we've started from this side and we've reached this side. Okay, so we can simply say now our answer is shown. Okay. Okay, so that was that. Okay, so stay in touch so that you cannot miss another revision series like this.